Welcome back, everybody, and congratulations if you're still here and you are enjoying your LifePrint operating system personal performance software. Today, what I wanted to do was just take a deeper dive into the software and give you a kind of perspective on how we begin to interpret the actual behavior, the performance patterns, the life cycles. And so every day we're just going to chunk down a little bit and a little bit, just so that you can become familiar with your software and see how you use it, right? Good. So let's jump right in. We're just going to load our software. And there we go. Move us over here. Perfect. Right. So as you can see, we've got our coaching card. This is me. I get to look at everybody else. So sometimes I feel as if I get to put my head on the chopping block. So if we basically come here and we have a look, this is my coaching card, my age, my birth date, and then we've got three icons at the top here, right? So the sprint icon, the play icon, and the calendar icon. Today, what we're going to be looking at is the calendar icon and how it relates to our life cycle, the year, the month, and the day, right? As humans, basically what happens is we, just like every other species, we have a life cycle. And so those life cycles are broken down into developmental channels. And those developmental channels, basically years within a life cycle and months within a year, and then days within a month. So typically what happens is we start off as a younger version of ourselves as a baby. And our perception model is actually very small. We don't have language. We don't, are we adjusting to our eyes? We're adjusting to our sound of our own voice. But we find it very difficult to communicate. We don't have much energy, information, and consciousness that's really embedded. We do have, from what we got from mom and dad when we were conceived and in conception during that time. And so what happens is this perception model grows. And so the first life cycle is what we call the intellectual life cycle. Your brain is kind of like a sponge, right? And it absorbs everything around you. And so you experience the world around you through the eyes of someone else, okay? So what happens is you can't communicate. Your perception model is very small. Your brain's absorbing like a sponge through its senses. And so the highest driver of meaning here is significance. Why? Because you have to call attention to yourself. And that attention to yourself is whether you're hungry, whether you want connection, whether you want somebody. And so you cry, or you laugh, or you bring attention, and you let you know that's how you communicate, right? And so the more certainty you have around the significance and the importance, the more you develop in terms of being able to have that certainty that you're important. And what happens is then we grow into our emotional phase. So the first intellectual, then the emotional. And so our perception model gets a little bigger. And the more significance we had and the more certainty we developed in our first life cycle, the next life cycle allows us to have security. And so the more security we develop at home, the more we are willing to connect outside of the home. So we have security and connection. And we start to develop our emotions. And so this is an emotional development life cycle, but it's not like you lose the previous life cycle. You don't, it doesn't sit here. It's contained within, right, in that perception model. And so once we grow again into our third life cycle, our perception model gets a little bigger, and now our drivers are more independence, significance and independence. Are we important enough to go out and be independent? And so that's the driver. And eventually that is about independence and significance, passion. And we go out into the world and we either cook up a storm or we burn ourselves, but we learn. And so we then go into our fourth life cycle, which is nesting and building. And so our perception model gets a little bigger, and we can handle more information, more perspectives, more understandings as we grow and we develop, and our perception model grows with us. And so this is nesting and building, and the drivers here are challenges and growth. You don't get to growth without challenge. Can I build? The challenge is to take what I've learned before, build something, and this is typically where people nest. They get married, have 2.3 kids, buy cars, buy houses, and kind of start building things in their life. And so the perception model goes. So whatever life cycle you're in has two real drivers that it's really looking to achieve within that life cycle. Okay. And so for me, I'm in the life cycle of soul searching and introspection, which means I'm actually looking for more certainty. And the more certainty I have about where I'm going, where I've come from, what I've done, the more I can contribute to others. So it's certainty and contribution. So it's what am I doing in a way that is helping to leave the garden better, right? Is it going to help me to contribute in a way that my soul will be happy with? Okay. And so within that life cycle, we've got channels of development. So we go through different years of that development as it relates to this life cycle, right? So if I roll over here, it will tell me, cool, you're in a year of responsibility and hard work, interpersonal relationships, and emotions, right? And so it's community, it's connectivity, it's security, both at home and within my personal and my professional life. And then this month, as it relates to this year within this life cycle, exactly the same. It's nestled, right? It's all within itself. And so we go through these fluctuations of kind of growth and challenges in our life as it relates to certain aspects. And this is all about kind of the transition, the transformation and the transition that we need to do in order to grow our community professionally, as well as in terms of what I need to do personally, taking care of the house, taking care of my relationship with my wife, Jacqueline, taking care of my parents, and connecting with my community or my students and making sure that I'm being responsible and delivering what it is that I promise. Okay. And then the day as it relates to the month, I can see, okay, cool, today is a good day to actually reach out with the community, take care of the community, also take care of myself, right? Because connectors typically as a pattern, that pattern likes to take care of others, likes to be connected. It's got a driver of connectivity and security. And so I'm looking at it from that aspect, and I'm taking advantage of what energy I'm in so that I'm staying in resonance with what's available to me. I'm not going to push against the currents. I'd rather take advantage of the wave, very much like a surfer, and see the wave and ride the wave rather than trying to work against it. And so this gives me more security, gives me more stability, gives me more certainty in terms of the things that I'm working on, what I need to be focusing on from a day-to-day, month-to-month, year-to-year, and then from a developmental perspective too. Good. Well, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. And tomorrow we'll be diving a little bit further down into the neurological archetype. Now, I wanted to add one thing because I just hear you all screaming. What about the calendar? So this is not a psychic clairvoyant model. We're using science basically to map particles and waves. And what we do is we have a look at this resonance and this wave fluctuation. And therefore, we can map its location backwards and forwards in terms of where it's going to be, kind of like predicting the weather. But we don't know whether it's going to be a storm, whether it's going to hail, whether it's going to be kind of, in terms of what time it's going to, all of that stuff. We just know that that day is going to be incredibly hot, incredibly cold. It's going to be windy. It's going to be doing this, right? And so we don't have the finite details. We can just look at the resonance of what that wave is doing. And so if you've had any experiences in your life, that's really a good memory in terms of, man, that was the best day ever. I remember the date so clearly. Or perhaps you've had a traumatic experience where the memory is very kind of solidified. And like I definitely have one. It's where I had my near-death experience. And so I can take that calendar and I can go, wow, where was I on the 2nd of February, 2002? And so I can go back to 2002 and I can just line that up and see, okay, well, what was going on in 2002 on the 2nd of February? And I can apply that and you'll see all of this change. And it'll be, okay, Justin was 22 years at that age. And he was in a life cycle of independence, passion. And I know where I was at. I was purposeless. I was in complete kind of just every day needs to be a party. I had no purpose whatsoever. And I was wandering in my life. And the year was about soul searching. And I was just definitely not searching. I was just wondering, right? And in that particular month and on that particular day, I got into this huge argument with one of the patrons in the bar, and he basically tried to smash my face with a beer glass. And I got my arm up, and this beer glass smashed onto my arm, went through 3 tendons, my radial artery and my ulnar nerve. And that happened very late at night. It happened close to midnight. And so if I go and I go, okay, well, where was I then in the next day? Because it was close to midnight, and boom. Challenges and changing perceptions. That near-death experience completely changed the trajectory of my life. And so everything changed from that moment in. And it took me, if we go to the next month, you'll see, if we go to the 3rd of March, and we apply that, the next month was just very difficult, very challenging. I was told that I wouldn't get the use of my right hand back. There was a very difficult pathway, and it kind of got way worse before it got a lot better. And so you can basically map backwards and forwards in terms of where and what you're going through so that you are prepared. More preparation means more certainty. Now, do we know what's going to happen? No, but you know the energy. So the environment is, you know exactly what environment you're in, so you're prepared. You're not caught blindsided. You're making sure that you're taking advantage of that wave, right? Yes, it is a challenging day, but on the other sides of challenges are huge amounts of growth. So sometimes you've got to know when to lean into that challenge. And sometimes you've got to know when to go, that's not worth it. I need to step away. And you only get that when you have a change in perception, where you see the bigger picture. Good. I hope you've enjoyed today. I look forward to connecting with you more and diving deeper into our software. That's it for now. So thank you very much from me, Justin Finesse, CEO, creator, and founder of the LifePrint operating system. And I hope you're starting to see how powerful this would be if you're a leader, if you're a coach, if you're a facilitator, if you're a practitioner, if you're a parent, how powerful this software is, because it really allows you to meet someone where they're at, not where you expect them to be. So thank you from me, Justin, and we'll see you tomorrow.